Y was already the best-selling car on the planet, and the all-new Model Y just got better.
When we set out to redesign the Model Y, we looked at trying to give the car a little bit more of its own unique personality.
One of the first things you'll notice is the light bar. And what this does is push the vehicle to look a little bit wider, look a little more planted on the road. And with this duct, we've been able to widen it slightly and get a little more air over that front tire.
At Tesla, we're always focused on efficiency. What customers care about is real-world driving efficiency. That's up almost 10%.
And we did that by revisiting every single component. These might be the most efficient tires we've made. They have lower rolling resistance, better handling, and less road noise.
And that's coupled to a brand new suspension design, specifically focused on improving ride comfort and especially impact harshness.
We have retained all what we consider Tesla DNA in the form of how the vehicle steers, how the vehicle handles, but at the same time, we have improved the ride comfort. The noise is going to be turned down by at least 20%. This mainly came as an improvement from all the glass area that now is acoustic glass, and as well we improved all the seals material. We get a better closure. It also allows the blower to run at a lower speed, reducing cabin noise and consuming less energy.
Giving you an isolated, comfortable ride, so when you drive, you can be in your own world.
We have an industry-first reflective rear lamp that is full cross-car and is reflected onto this custom applique.
So you get this really beautiful puddle of red lights, almost like afterburner behind the car. It's my favorite part of the car. Super excited to see it on the road.
We have all-new thermoplastic spoiler, much more aerodynamically efficient, so it gives greater range to our customers. We've got a much wider opening, which makes it easier for cargo ingress and egress.
Over 30 cubic feet of storage space like this, extra storage space under the floor. What's even better is powerful flat. All the seats are flat, and I can put in big TV, my bikes, and at the touch of a button, you're back to putting people in the second row seat again. So versatile, so much space.
So this is the new Model Y frunk. We've made it more utility focused. It has a drain plug at the bottom that you'll be able to open. We also have some accessories coming, so there'll be more use cases that you can enable with this frunk than before.
At Tesla, we're always designing cars to make sure that the safest on the planet. We do that not only with passive safety with 9 airbags, but we also have 9 cameras that are looking all over where you can't see, preventing accidents from happening.
This car comes with the Autopilot 4. It includes a much higher performance Autopilot computer, some new cameras all around the car. It also has a facial camera down here. It's a 180-degree field of view, so we can see objects coming from either side of the car.
All of this combines to hopefully never get you into an accident, but if you do, you're protected by the best passive safety system on the market, 5-star ratings overall.
We really wanted to integrate the theme of more detail, more premiumness that you're seeing all throughout the interior.
We have ambient light, a million colors, super comfortable seats that are all new as well, upgraded with heat and cooling. So whether you're being driven or going on a spirited drive, you have a great experience.
You can do more than just drive in your new Model Y. You are equipped with this amazing infotainment system both in the front and in the rear.
There are plenty of entertainment options here for both adults and kids alike.
And with a new feature that we've just introduced that allows you to pair 2 Bluetooth headsets to their audio that's playing on the rear screen. Kids in the back can watch whatever they want, and parents in the front can have peace and quiet.
We have 16 speakers, but some of them are actually hidden. This is a much more immersive audio experience. We've developed acoustically transparent materials, and that has enabled us to position the microphones closer to the occupant, allows us to have much better intelligibility for phone calls and voice recognition functions.
We've taken the best-selling car and made it even better.
And it'll continue to get better over time as we release new software updates.
It's super versatile, both inside and out, more distinctive, more efficient. It's just a car that does everything for you. It's like a Swiss Army knife. First thing you'll notice on the performance version of this car is that the front fascia is different. And you can see the ducts on the side here where we take the air from the front of the car and really duct it around the wheel. And it's a different splitter across the front too, so that helps with the downforce and the overall lift balance of the car. On the rear of the car, we added a spoiler and we improved the rear diffuser. And it's a carbon fiber splitter. And you can see, like, even the details here where we want downforce in the center of the car, but then we want range and aero efficiency. We have this little notch here. Maybe it's a detail that somebody would think is just a styling cue, but it's actually a performance element to the spoiler. So let's check out the interior. This is where there's a lot of change for the performance version. And I think the first thing you'll notice is this seat.
The new seat is supporting me now. I can really go for the corner and look how the car goes over this ridge. Like, we literally fly through.
It grips you right here in the thighs, in the hip. Really comfortable for everyday driving.
As well, we have these new forged wheels. Not only decrease the mass to keep the overall vehicle mass down, but they also have a little bit more stiffness, which allows for tighter turn and feel.
They also come integrated with these aero caps here. These also work with the unique front and rear fascias that we have on the car to move the air around these larger wheels and tires. And this is where we're balancing vehicle driving and vehicle handling and also the range and efficiency of the car. We've also got an upgraded brake pad to take higher thermal loads and perform better.
We have a new steering knuckle for the performance car that has a slightly shorter steering arm, which decreases the overall steering ratio, making it a little bit quicker. And then we have a brand new adaptive damping system, first time ever on Model 3, with an active valve here that adjusts dynamically when you're driving the car. The tires are co-developed with Pirelli and us to be quieter, more efficient, have higher grip, and better performance laterally. All new drive unit here for the Model 3 Performance. We also have a new inverter here, and we have precision ground gears to increase efficiency, as well as a lower friction oil in there that we call KAF, kick-ass fluid, in order to get all of the performance out of all of this together. Now we're getting new drive units, you're getting new suspension, you're getting adaptive damping, you have new seats in the car that are more supportive for spirited driving. So we were able to do all that while also improving the comfort. So it's really kind of a car that can do both things.
The sense of encapsulation, the unification of materials, the up level of premiumness.
Best Model 3 we've ever had.
We took out what I call like the baby fat out of the front end. Slimmer headlight, the puffy cheeks are gone, the full volume in the hood with the shoulders, the waist, really slippery silhouette. Felt like a refined athlete.
We really tried to improve the side impact of the vehicle by creating a stiffer and stronger door structure. We reinforced the hinges here, we reinforced the door latch and striker here, and then we added a catch here at the bottom of the door. What we do here is we catch the door in 3 places to really resist that impact.
One of my favorite things about the rear end of the car is the taillights and how we were able to incorporate them into the deck lid. The lights are out wide, gives it a really wide stance and character. Now we don't have any split lines when the lights are lit. The diffuser's a little bit bigger. Really just cleans up all the lines and the character of the rear end, and the taillight goes with the tailgate.
We have a couple of exciting new colors. We call it Ultra Red, very high chroma. This is another new color, Stealth Gray.
As soon as you sit in the car and you close the door, you will immediately notice how quiet it is inside the car.
One of the other features that's really cool on the front of the car for wind noise is this little ramp on the edge of the hood. It takes the air that's coming over the top and deflects it over the windscreen, so you have a much quieter experience at high speed and even at low speed.
And then you'll also notice that when you're trying to make a phone call from the vehicle, there's less background noise, there's better voice isolation.
One area that we really focused on was the interior of the Model 3. It's this really beautiful wraparound feel.
You will notice how simple everything is designed. We have this LED light coming through all the way from the center of the IT connected to the door.
So now we have pink, we have a very light blue, I can even do green. The lighting continues on the rear seats. The screen is being the hero of the car, so now the kiddies have a place to interact as well.
With the addition of the display in the second row, passengers now control climate. I can adjust fan up and down, can adjust their seat heaters, and here's a feature that I'm particularly fond of. They can even give themselves a little more legroom in the back.
We always want to maximize customer happiness. One of the biggest features we've been asked for is ventilated front seats, and we put that in the new Model 3.
We have this wing that's over the top.
It's a very unique textile that we have designed.
We have the improved steering wheel with haptic interface controls.
With speakers that are placed optimally all around you.
It really feels like a new car. The handling of the car is improved. The overall performance is improved.
You just have to experience it yourself.
Hey everyone, Lars here in the Tesla Engineering Crash Safety Lab. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what makes our cars so safe. Passive safety is what happens after you get in an accident. We think about that from the beginning of a design. And what we're trying to do is absorb as much energy from whatever object you hit before it gets to the cabin. At Tesla, we always like to think we have two rules. Number one, protect the occupant. Number two, protect the battery. See rule number one, protect the occupant. The way we do that is in the progressive nature of crash structure. This is what a car looks like underneath the skin. You have your bumper beam, your crush can, and then you have what we just debuted in Austin is our new front underbody casting. And what happens when you get into an accident is first the bumper beam crushes up, it progressively crushes up the crush can, absorbing the low speed energy under 20 miles per hour, and then we get into our casting. The design is such that the ribs at the beginning of the casting are thinner than the ones at the back, and we progressively increase them so that we have controlled crushing of the entire system as it goes up before it gets to the cabin here. But what else you'll notice is there's multiple load paths. This is a higher load path for compatibility with other vehicles on the road. Sometimes we need a lower load path if you hit a different sized object. There's space vertically to transfer the load not only through the crush rail, but also through our subframe, which pulls the drive unit down and out of the way from the cabin behind you, and out of the way of the battery. But we don't just do that in a vertical sense, we also do it laterally. Your main crush rail is great if you hit something up front, but if you hit a pole or a tree just outside that crush rail, there's nothing there to absorb an energy in most cars. We put our lower load path just outside that crush rail, and we actually angle it so that if you hit something here, we start to absorb the energy, and then we push the car away from whatever object you hit to make sure that you're not getting crushed into that object. The backup structure is what protects the cabin after that, and we use both our door rings, the glass, and our battery to provide structure to hold all of this energy it's crushing up. But one of the things that's unique about all of Tesla's is the battery is super low. A low center of gravity, in addition to our suspension, means our vehicles are less likely to roll over. So let's take a look at what a car looks like after a crash test and how these systems all work. So this here is actually a really special car. This is a car that was crash tested at NHTSA for our 5-star rating of Model Y. And as you can see, all that energy was absorbed up front here, stopping really at the cabin like I was talking about. And we do such a good job of that you can actually open the door and get out. And as you can see, aside from a little bit of white paint and some airbags blown off, the cabin looks like it was untouched. And that means the occupant inside has all of the room that they had before the accident to survive the accident.
here with the Model S was to create not the best electric car, but actually the best car of any kind.
The Model S. This is an ambitious goal to create a whole new kind of car. A lot of Wall Street is betting Tesla can't get it done.
So we're here in Los Angeles at our Glass Technology Center where we make all the prototypes for all of our vehicles. And to give you a real life example of the acoustic performance of our side drop, just roll up the window here. And to give you an idea of how comfortable the experience is in our vehicle. So as the designers first sketched the Model Y or S and X and 3, they just sketched the glass from the front of the vehicle all the way to the rear of the vehicle. And we spend a ton of time making sure that each glass position is the right curvature, is the right size and shape in order to give that seamless approach. One of the coolest things that we've done is incorporate acoustic side laminated drops across every vehicle at Tesla. So what this consists of is a glass sandwich. You have a glass outer and a glass inner, and in between an acoustic dampening layer for road noise, wind noise that the customer will experience and make the inside occupant feel quieter.
So what we have here is a 2% tint we use on roofs and things of that nature. We combine that with different types of thin films that have properties like solar for reflecting radiation, and we'll combine that with a standard PVB that has different properties. Some have acoustic properties, others have solar properties. So we have to be very careful on what we choose to go into the vehicle.
As we look at these large pieces of glass, safety is a huge consideration. So we work with our exteriors, our closures team on making sure it is very safe for our occupants. So things like rollover, roof crush testing. Then we go to the thermal aspects to make sure it gets the best thermal performance. The roof itself absorbs 99% of the UV radiation coming in. So it's amazingly safe even though you have this large open experience inside your vehicle. So across all of our vehicles at Tesla, we have a suite of autopilot cameras here in the front of the car looking forward through the windshield.
So in a sense, our windshield is becoming a lens in front of the camera, and we focus on things with distortion, as well as working hand in hand with our autopilot team on functionality, heating function, as well as diffraction of the images that are coming in. And I would say it's part of the way that we're leading the industry and setting the standard for autopilot functionality and the glass quality that's required for autopilot.
We just put in the second vehicle, we're re-blowing up the bubble, and we're preparing to do a comparison test side by side.
Normally air pollution, you can't really see it. You can't really see how bad it is. So we're trying to use this to demonstrate it visually. So we're going to be running a bioweapon defense mode on here. We have a HEPA filter installed.
It's going to show us the effectiveness of the HEPA filter versus a vehicle that does not have the HEPA filter.
Bioweapon defense mode engaged. We're going to signal smoke. No smoke. Smoke going.
So the cabin is now pressurized as the smoke is released. So all the air that's coming into the cabin is going through the HEPA filter, which is very good at taking out the particles of smoke. So as you can see, the cabin is staying nice and clean, even though the outside world is quite a hostile environment. This filter is 99.97% effective or better against particles of any size.
Like no particulate in the car, right?
No particulate in the car.
Zero red smoke in the
No
car.
red. The car is clean.
Immediately you can see a lot of dust here on the inlet side of the filter, and then on the back side over here you see nothing, which is good. Going to lift this up and we'll see the carbon filter, which is probably also going to be quite red from capturing all that smoke. There we go. And then I'll pull this filter off and we'll see the real HEPA filter, which is also going to have some red on it. You can even see it on the back side of the filter here, so it definitely caught a lot of this dust and filtered it out so that it's not getting into the cabin and into your lungs.
HEPA stands for High Efficiency Particulate Air Filter. The great thing about a HEPA filter is how well it filters out very, very fine particles, like PM 2.5 and even smaller. And those are very bad because they can be small enough that they get into your lungs and stay in your body.
Over 4 million people die per year based upon exposure to bad air quality. And the World Health Organization says that over 90% of people live in environments that have bad air quality. With wildfires in California and other extreme climate events happening worldwide, it's really important to be able to provide clean air to everybody. So that's why we have a HEPA filter in our vehicle.
It's insane!
Welcome to the Tesla Crash Lab. Today we're doing a very special crash. We will be testing a pickup truck hitting a Model Y. As you see, it's a very small overlap. This is what we call an off-zone impact. This is the last piece of validation for what we believe is a world first.
Previously, the best way to design a safe car was for industry standard crash testing. And those crash tests are like a few grains of sand. Those grains of sand are meant to represent the beach, but in reality the beach is infinitely complex. Every crash is different. With emerging technologies, there are new opportunities. Now we can look at the real world and design for that.
We're the only car maker in the world that has a fleet of well over 1 million cars on the road, fully instrumented from a sensing perspective.
We can know exactly where the seat is, we can know where the steering wheel is, we know if they're belted, we know when the airbag deployed exactly to the millisecond.
We know exactly what our fleet of cars is being exposed to out there. The richness of data we are collecting enables us to develop safety beyond the stars and beyond the ratings, and for situations which is simply not picked up by the regulatory rating test that we and all other car makers are doing.
Industry standard crash testing is focused on impacts directly into the door. We've noticed in the field that it's very common for impacts not to hit the door.
Once we found the gap in what the legal testing required and the types of crashes we saw from our fleet data, we decided to use our very detailed simulation models to run impacts in different locations, like this simulation here. And we use this to really tune down to the millimeter and down to the mile per hour the threshold at which you need airbags and you don't need airbags. We use that to tune the airbags and the seat belts for optimal safety.
Conventional systems don't detect this type of crash because it's not an industry standard. This new algorithm takes into account the current sensor set interpreted in a new way so that we can identify this particular type of crash and provide the optimum restraint for that situation.
After we ran hundreds of simulations, it was time to test this in the real world.
We have 17 high-speed cameras running at 1,000 frames per second, and camera data forms an integral part of the information that we collect in a big test like this. In the back of the vehicle, in preparation, we have our instrumentation rack, and it's got all the critical infrastructure to make sure we get all the data we need.
So what will happen is that when this pickup truck impacts the Model Y, so within 10 milliseconds of impact, the system will have determined what type of impact this is. And then it will trigger the airbag system and the restraint system to respond in the best possible way.
3, 2, 1.
So we just finished the crash test. Looks like we have a home run result. The cars even ended up exactly where we predicted. Post-crash, the detection worked perfectly. We deployed the airbags exactly as we intended to, as we wanted to, and indeed as we predicted to. I just had a look at the injury values recorded by the dummies, and they look beautiful. This feels awesome. This is history in the making, and this is really the end result of the entire chain of Tesla's strength in safety development, starting off with the field data, data analytics, lots of simulation, close cooperation between simulation engineers, design engineers, coming here to the lab, recreating this whole crash, performing it flawlessly, capturing the results. Now we have some post-processing to do to validate everything, but once that's done, this is in the pipeline for over-the-air updates to the fleet, improving the cars.
We have more data now than we've ever had before. We can understand real exposure, and then we can design our vehicles for that exposure.
We think over time this will change how you design for vehicle safety. It's all based on knowledge. I think this is just the beginning of a journey for us. The reason we're doing this is simple. It's because A, we have the ability, and B, it's because it's the right thing to do.
like the way it looks from the front because it has this slightly aggressive touch.
This car will all
因为它有一种略带攻击性的感觉。这辆车有所有这些功能，它仍然像一部智能手机，上面有游戏和应用程序。与不同航旅呻吟和孩子不解决火电史诗，我说我们永远不会再切换到汽油，因为我认为这是我们应该在任何地方遵循的答案。对我来说，每个较小型号的枪，我不认为它可以替代这辆车。我认为模型3将更多的用于日常使用的汽车。我们将使用它来购物和去最痛苦的地方，所以更适合我们地区的汽车。我们没有那么大的街道和那么大的停车场。9个人，哈哈，晚上你要开车去世的，真的哦，天哪哇！这比只看照片好多了哦，它很流畅哦，我喜欢它，很酷。可爱哦，太棒了，这是一辆野兽般的车，你知道。如果这是一辆有趣的车，它是一辆运动型汽车，感觉很好。它仍然感觉像特斯拉。我想我现在明白为什么其他一些制造商害怕这款车进入欧洲，在电动汽车方面做了一些开创性的工作。我喜欢它，我没想到它对我这么高的人来说有这么大的空间，这真是太好了，这是一辆很棒的车。